name is Catesby Spears. I am seeking my Master's of Arts in Education and Instructional Leadership from Eastern Kentucky University. This is my capstone research project titled Teaching to the Test: Affecting the Whole Child Approach Within Education. Ensuring that all children become college, career, and citizenship ready by the time they graduate from high school so that they can lead productive, engaged, and fulfilling lives is an ambitious goal, but one that is both worthy of great nations and necessary for those nations to remain great. The goal mentioned above is derived from a piece of literature written by Griffith and Slade in 2013. This goal requires leadership, national support, new resources, and a renewed commitment to the needs of the whole child within the school system. The purpose of this mixed methods research approach, containing both qualitative and quantitative data, was to examine the influence that the whole child approach had on instruction at Boonesboro Elementary School. Aside from determining the influence that the whole child approach had on instruction at Boonesboro Elementary, this study also worked to investigate the relation between the implementation of the whole child approach and student academic performance in grades K through 5 on their iReady diagnostic tests, both reading and mathematics. The focus of this research was to answer the questions: how has the whole child educational approach influenced the instruction at Boonesboro Elementary School, and in what manner did emphasizing the whole child approach to education influence student academic growth and performance at Boonesboro Elementary School grade levels K through 5? The perspectives in the literature for this project varied in topics showcasing both the positive and negative effects of implementation, best practices for implementation, and student academic performance. Positive effects of the whole child approach began with literature presented by Griffith and Slade, 2013. Griffith and Slade introduced the 5 tenets based on child development theory, which supports the approach and states that every child in every school in every community deserves to be healthy, safe, engaged, supported, and challenged. Whole child approach experts Darling Hammond and Cook Harvey, 2018, state that effective learning depends on secure attachments, affirming relationships, rich hands-on learning experiences, and explicit integration of social, emotional, and academic skills, once again reinforcing the importance of the 5 tenets of the whole child approach introduced by Griffith and Slade. The literature collected within this study also showcases the negative effects of the whole child approach. According to Bernstein, 2019, the whole child educational approach does not have a universal definition, and interpretation of the whole child education has yet to surface, ultimately affecting the way educators integrate whole child approaches in their teaching. According to Rafi, 2016, the best practices for implementation includes implementing a whole child, whole school framework as the best solution for the well-being of each and every student. In order to ensure that each student has their needs met, it is important to build meaningful relationships with them. Miller, 2010, states that in order to successfully implement the whole child approach within schools, then we must have whole teachers. Whole teachers practice patience, presence, caring, love, and humility within their classrooms. Each of these characteristics combined work to create a whole teacher, leading to effective implementation of the whole child approach. The Colorado Children's Campaign, 2014, presents data for overall student achievement of students who participate in the campaign and whole child development program. 70% of all Colorado students in 3rd through 10th grade were reading at grade level. The biggest improvement in proficiency can be found within the math content area. In 2013, 57% of Colorado students scored proficient, making a significant improvement from 41% in 2003. Savinia, 2016, supports the idea of integrating physical activity and movement into students' daily schedule, both inside and outside of the classroom, for learning experience and play, aiding in students being successful in school, as well as support the idea of educating the whole child. Several resources are used within the literature review to discuss how the whole child educational approach is complex and looks different in each school that it implements it. At the heart of this educational approach is providing students with a well-rounded education that specifically focuses on the 5 tenets: health, safe, engaged, supported, and challenged, of developing the whole child. Implementing the whole child educational approach in classrooms may help shift the attitude in schools from teaching to the test to providing students with the necessary skills in order to be successful in the real world as well-versed citizens. The methodology for the study was a mixed methods approach using both qualitative and quantitative data. The data for this action research project was collected through a one-time survey emailed out to certified teachers and administration personnel. The survey consisted of 10 questions varying in question type: multiple choice, agree and disagree, and open-ended questions. The survey was done anonymously, so participants felt comfortable being honest in their responses. Data for this action research project was also collected by analyzing and comparing student iReady diagnostic testing data from fall and winter testing windows, both last year 2018 and this year 2019. The participants in this study were the 22 certified teachers and administration personnel who participated in the survey. Participants in the study also included the 386 students at Boonesboro Elementary, ranging in grade level from kindergarten to 5th grade. The qualitative data was the certified teachers and administration personnel's responses to the Instructional Strategy and Pedagogy online survey. The results of this study were analyzed, and common instructional strategies mentioned on the survey were tallied and graphed by the researcher. These graphs will be presented later in this presentation. To ensure the trustworthiness of the data collected, the researcher applied the principles of methods triangulation. The researcher cross-referenced the qualitative and quantitative data collected to ensure the consistency of the findings. Student participants involved within the study were both male and female, varying in socioeconomic status as well as academic ability level across grade levels kindergarten through 5th. Within both the first and second question, the majority of the certified teachers and administration personnel at Boonesboro Elementary voted yes, that the school and their own personal practices were in support of the whole child approach. The first and second questions had the same results, where 95.45% of participants voted yes, and 4.55% of participants voted no. It is interesting that majority of the participants who contributed to the Instructional Strategy and Pedagogy survey voted that both the school and their own personal practices were in support of the whole child approach. However, one participant in both question 1 and 2 voted that they do not believe that the school and their own personal practices were in support of the whole child. It seems as though there is a discrepancy between teaching philosophies and the implementation of the whole child approach at Boonesboro. This discrepancy is only reflective of one participant's response within the Instructional Strategy and Pedagogy survey. The pie chart in Figure 2 displays the school-wide activities identified by the participants that were currently in place at Boonesboro Elementary in support of the whole child approach. The majority of participants identified special area classes, physical education, library, music, and fitness lab as being one of the biggest activities that was already in place at Boonesboro in support of the development of the whole child. Aside from special area classes, participants within this study identified guidance classes and small guidance groups as being a large portion of the pie chart above. Alongside guidance classes, Minds in Motion was a large part of the pie chart. It is thought-provoking that over half of the pie chart presented in Figure 2 is only comprised of 3 activities. Those 3 activities being special area classes 23%, guidance classes 17%, and Minds in Motion 11%. Each of these 3 activities has movement aspects incorporated or focuses on teaching students how to feel comfortable expressing their feelings. The pie chart in Figure 3 displays that majority of the classroom activities that teachers implemented within their classrooms in support of the whole child approach were mindfulness activities. Aside from mindfulness, integrating physical activity into students' daily schedule, checking in on students' mental health as well as their academics, and using a variety of Kagan strategies within instruction were the largest pieces of the pie chart. There was very little overlap that happened when tallying up participants' responses. Figure 4 is a visual representation for questions 5 through 8 on the Instructional Strategy and Pedagogy survey. Participants were given a statement aligned within the whole child educational approach and then asked to read the statement and indicate whether they agree or disagree with the given statement. For question 5, 100% of the participants agreed with the given statement. Question 6 had some differing opinions, where 95.45% agreed with the given statement and 4.55% disagreed with the given statement. We continued to see differing opinions in both question 7 and question 8. 72.73% agreed and 27.27% disagreed with the given statement in question 7. Question 8 had 90.91% of the participants agreed with the given statement and 9.09% disagreed with the given statement. It's attention-grabbing that the discrepancies in both question 7 and question 8 have increased compared to question 5 and 6. These discrepancies may have been caused by the way the statements were worded within those questions. The statements were worded in such a way that participants could have agreed with the first part of the statement, but not with the second half, leading them to ultimately disagree with the statement as a whole. The pie chart in Figure 5 displays the suggested activities and or programs that participants stated could be implemented at Boonesboro to strengthen their whole child educational approach. Majority of participants suggested that there needs to be more emphasis placed on modifying instruction for all students. Aside from instruction modification, a continued focus on social and emotional health, the need for an art class and or a creative outlet, continued relationship building between students and teachers, as well as the need to hire more paraeducators was identified. It is important to note that the chart shown above only contains responses from 21 participants, since one of the participants chose to skip this question on the survey. Question 10 asked participants to identify whether or not they would be interested in attending a professional development session on the implementation of the whole child educational approach. Out of the 22 participants who took part in the study, 86.36% voted yes that they were interested in attending a PD session on the implementation of the whole child approach. Meanwhile, 13.64% voted no that they were not interested in attending a PD session focusing on the whole child approach. For the purpose of this study, the iReady diagnostic test data from last year 2018 was our baseline data when used in the direct comparison of grade level percentages and growth as a grade level. Figure 7 displays iReady reading data from the diagnostic test taken at the beginning of the school year last year in fall 2018. This table in Figure 7 showcases both grade level averages as well as places students into tiered levels of instruction based on their test scores. At first glance, the majority of the grade level averages show the color yellow, meaning majority of students tested into Tier 2 or small group instruction. That is expected at the beginning of the school year. The winter iReady diagnostic data shows student academic growth and the tiered levels of instruction shift. This instruction shift was expected as students have completed half of the school year and content curriculum when they are tested during the winter iReady testing window. Data gathered from the winter iReady diagnostic test help teachers review the content they have covered as well as content they still have left to teach and map it out. It is important to note that not every student in every grade level was assessed. The number of students assessed during the iReady testing window is presented on the right side of the chart under the title Students Assessed/Total. Figure 8 showcases new iReady data from this past academic school year 2019 to 2020. Figure 8 specifically displays iReady reading data from the fall 2019 beginning of the year diagnostic test. The fall 2019 reading data in comparison to the fall 2018 data is very similar to each other in almost every grade level shown above. There is still a lot of Tier 2 instruction across the grade levels as well. Figure 9 shows iReady reading data from the diagnostic test taken mid-year during the winter iReady testing window last year in winter 2018. The table shown in Figure 9 displays grade level averages for each grade K through 5. There is a significant amount of growth in both kindergarten and first grade. In kindergarten, Tier 1 instruction went from 20% in the fall to 60% in the winter testing window. Similar results can be seen in Tier 1 throughout each of the grade levels in their reading scores. The fall 2019 data is the baseline data for the 2019-2020 academic school year and was used to compare the impact that the whole child educational approach has had on the instruction and student academic performance when compared to the winter 2019 testing data. Figure 10 displays the grade level percentages for the winter 2019 iReady diagnostic testing window. Every grade level increased their Tier 1 instruction, working to close the knowledge gaps within their specified grade level. With the exception of 5th grade, every grade level K through 4 lowered their at-risk for Tier 3 instruction percentage, which is quite an accomplishment. This means that those students who once tested in the at-risk for Tier 3 instruction percentage area have actively worked to close their gaps in knowledge. These students have now tested into the Tier 1 and or Tier 2 instruction area according to their iReady diagnostic testing data. Tier 1 instruction is whole group, while Tier 2 focuses on small group instruction, both of which are offered in every grade level at Boonesboro Elementary School. Figure 11 displays the iReady mathematics data from the diagnostic test at the beginning of the school year last year in the fall of 2018. After initially reviewing these grade level percentages, you can immediately notice a drastic difference between content areas. The initial mathematics scores on students' iReady diagnostic tests were drastically lower starting off than they were in reading. Similar to what was displayed earlier in the fall 2018 reading scores, majority of this chart is yellow as expected, since it is the beginning of the school year and the initial testing window. Figure 12 showcases the iReady mathematics data from the diagnostic test at the beginning of the school year this year, fall 2019. In comparison to the fall 2018 beginning of the year math diagnostic scores, the percentages are very similar. When looking initially at this chart, we see primarily Tier 2 instruction and at-risk for Tier 3 instruction. This being the initial data collection from the beginning of the 2019-2020 school year, this data informs teachers of gaps in knowledge for individual students that may need scaffolding. Figure 13 shows iReady mathematics data from the diagnostic test taken mid-year during the winter iReady testing window last year, winter of 2018. The table shown in Figure 13 displays grade level percentages broken into tier-leveled instruction for each grade, K through 5, based on the way students scored on their diagnostic tests. There have been some significant shifts in their tier-leveled instruction and grade level percentages from the fall to winter diagnostic scores. Kindergarten went from having 87% of students in Tier 2 instruction to having 50% Tier 1 instruction, 50% Tier 2 instruction, and 0% at risk for Tier 3 instruction. Kindergarten was not the only grade level that showed significant growth within their scores. 5th grade made strides in their scores as well. During the mid-year winter test, 5th grade as a whole had 53% Tier 1 instruction, 31% Tier 2 instruction, and 16% at risk for Tier 3 instruction. Figure 14 shows the iReady mathematics diagnostic testing data for winter 2019. There is a significant amount of growth across each of the grade levels, K through 5. Each grade level was able to increase their Tier 1 instruction, as well as close the gap in the at-risk for Tier 3 instruction. While the Tier 2 instruction is still prominent in each grade level, this is only the mid-year iReady testing window. Looking at the data from a grade level perspective, majority of students in each grade level are where they are expected to be at the halfway point through the school year. The researchers sought to discover the influences that the whole child approach would have on instruction at the elementary school level. Data analysis revealed that school-wide activities such as special area classes, guidance classes, and Minds in Motion were all in support of the whole child development. Data analysis also revealed that certified teachers' own personal practices within their classrooms influenced the instruction as well. Certified teachers focused heavily on mindfulness activities as well as incorporating hands-on interactive Kagan activities. This educational approach, when implemented school-wide, directly influences and impacts the instruction happening in classrooms and activities implemented within every grade level. The whole child educational approach is sought to develop and cater to the needs of students, working to mold them into well-rounded citizens. Upon reviewing various articles and other research, it was decided to look closely at the impact of the implementation of the whole child educational approach and how it would affect student academic performance. Data analysis revealed that while student academic performance improved from fall to winter, it did not confirm that it was based solely on implementation of the whole child approach. This educational approach is designed to be used in any grade level and content area to improve student academic performance. It is a well-known educational approach and has a wealth of research to support the development of the whole child, making it a good choice for the focus of this study. There were several limitations to this study. The study was very broad and looked at the overall grade level improvements in iReady diagnostic test scores. Students received instruction from different teachers depending on the grade level and class that they were placed in for the school year. Each grade level had a schedule that differs, as well as the activities and instructional strategies that were implemented in support of the whole child educational approach. An additional limitation to this study were the potential external factors that could influence student academic performance and growth on their iReady diagnostic tests. Contributing factors include but are not limited to whether or not students had a good night of sleep before testing at school. Did the student eat breakfast before taking their test? Have the students been taught all of the material on the iReady test to ensure their success, etc.? There is no way to determine all of the external factors that may or may not influence individual students and their academic performance on their iReady diagnostic tests. The COVID-19 pandemic was another limitation within this study. This caused school to close and instruction to abruptly stop and switch to virtual learning. None of the students at Boonesboro Elementary were able to take their end-of-the-year iReady diagnostic test in a controlled school environment, resulting in the end-of-the-year iReady diagnostic data being extremely skewed in every grade level. The researcher intended to use the end-of-the-year iReady diagnostic scores as a method of data collection. The closure of school rendered this impossible. It is recommended that professional development be made available to faculty and staff members that is centered on the development of the whole child and the implementation of that approach school-wide. It is recommended that further research be conducted to analyze the impact of specific instructional strategies in support of the development of the whole child. This study was too broad and did not focus on a specific strategy or activity used to improve student academic performance. Research over longer periods of time, such as the entirety of a school year, may yield more significant results. It is also recommended that future research include a control group, one in which the whole child approach is not implemented. This control group would be useful when collecting and comparing data of a classroom and or school that does implement the whole child educational approach. The control group would allow the researcher to have some baseline data that could be used to study the effects that the whole child approach has on student academic performance. These are the references used in this study. Thank you for your time.